Oodalali and welcome. My name is DJ, aka Ferda Fangorn, and I am back today with the sixth and final part of this series going over budget Lorcana singles. Just like the rest of this series, we will only be featuring cards that are rare, super rare, or legendary, as all commons and uncommons fall underneath my price guideline for what I consider to be a budget single. What I consider to be a budget single is any card that costs no more than $5 for a single copy, meaning a playset of four will cost you $20 at the most to obtain for your deck at market value at the day of recording this video. Today we talk about what is probably my second favorite ink to play with is steel. It's a lot of fun. It's a really consistent ink. A lot of the core pieces are unfortunately not very budget friendly. Steel tends to have a lot more of the more expensive core pieces to its competitive side. But I do think I have a lot of really fun, interesting cards for you to take a look at and play with at your kitchen table in a casual setting, and still some really nice pieces to build around or complement another ink in that deck. And with that, we're going to move right into our video. We are going to begin this video, as always, starting with the budget staples section. The cards that you will see in just about every steel build or a majority of steel builds are cards that are just key cards to the ink. And to start off, we have an action song from the first chapter. It is Grab Your Sword, a rare song. 5 costs, uninkable. Deal 2 damage to each opposing character. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of steel is pretty straightforward for the most part, so it's fun that way. This one gets around ward as well because you're not choosing a target, so it's just each character. You don't pick a chosen character, so even if they only have the one character on board with ward, it doesn't matter. It'll still get hit for the 2 damage. This is also very strong against any aggro build or any build that features a lot of low strength, low cost characters or low willpower characters, I should say. It's not as essential as it used to be, but in budget world it's very essential. It's very friendly price wise. It's just a really cool tool to have, and it's a really fun card to play. Up next is one of my personal favorite cards, and one of those that always gives your opponent a headache. It is a super rare character from the Floodborn set, Cinderella Stout-Hearted. She is a super rare character, 7 cost inkable. She has 5 strength, 5 willpower, quest for 3. Love a good 3 quester. She also shifts on 5, and there are plenty of playable Cinderellas to achieve that shift. She also has resist plus 2, meaning that every single time she is dealt damage, you reduce it by 2. So that applies. So if your opponent wants to challenge this character multiple times in a turn, she gets that resist buff every single challenge, every single damaging action or song. Like grab your sword over here would do 0 damage to her. Just a really annoying part of this card on an already annoying big body. But on top of that, she has the singing sword ability that states that if you play a song, she may challenge a ready character this turn. There's a good chance that if you're running Cinderellas, you're playing songs. You're probably playing songs no matter what the build is. Songs are very strong action cards. This gives you a chance to attack, maybe a ward character your opponent doesn't want to exert, leaves up thinking it's safe, or any other characters they might not turn sideways in hopes of keeping them alive longer. She can play a song. You use her then to challenge anybody you want. And on top of that, she's a very aggressive quester and very hard to get rid of, again, because of that resist plus 2. She's just a very, very strong card, a very, very fun card. Yes, she's kind of costly to put on the table, but it's always worth having a copy or two in any build that you're featuring Cinderellas, in my opinion. I just love the card a lot. Moving along is probably my favorite action in the entire game is And Then Along Came Zeus, an action song from the Inklings. It is a rare card. It is a 4 cost uninkable. You can deal 5 damage to chosen character or location. Now, this card can get rid of most cards that your opponent's going to play. If you can choose it, you can most likely banish it with this card. 5 damage is a lot, and being attached to a song is just beautiful. Yes, it's uninkable, so a lot of people might run this as 2 or 3. I personally always try to get this up to 4 in every steel deck I build because it is just such a great card. It also helps you get rid of a lot of really annoying locations because you can also hit a location for 5 damage. You don't see that side of it used as often, and it's really strong. Library is one of those locations you see a lot of. It's got 8 willpower. McDuck Manor's got 9. You hit it with this, and suddenly they're within striking range of some of your other characters. It's just a really, really good card. It's very strong. I definitely recommend grabbing a playset of this card as soon as you can. Up next is another great piece for any song deck, especially Steel Song. It is Aerial Sonic Warrior. The very, very first card we talked about in this entire series was that Amber Ariel. This card can shift onto her the turn after you play her. So she comes out on curve, as we call it. She is a super rare character from Ursul's Return. 6 cost, inkable, 3 strength, 8 willpower, quest for 2. And she has amplified voice that whenever you play a song, you may pay 2 ink to deal 3 damage to chosen character. Again, if you sing a song, you're playing it for quote unquote free, leaving your ink free to use. So if you sing a song like Zeus, you could hit something for 5 and then pay the 2 of that 4 ink you saved to then hit something for 3 or the same thing for 3. It's just a really cool piece to have. It's a good way to kind of threaten your opponent. I like her a lot. She's not super staply, but steel is one of the most expensive inks as far as what the really core pieces are. So I kind of have to work around that. In budget world, this card will be an ace up your sleeve. She is just very, very strong, and it's a very annoying card, and she can quickly take care of a board, especially if you play multiple songs in a turn, because you can repeat that ability as long as you have the ink. And then the final card, the only fifth card in this section of the video, is One Last Hope. Now, originally, when I made my list and I started this series, this was actually in my budget potential section. But with some of the reveals we've seen for the next set, I do think this card is going to be a huge player in the game. It is a very good card. I've always really liked the card. I've always seen a lot of potential in the card, but I do think it has deserved an upgrade, if you will, and to move into this budget staples section. It is a rare song from Ursa's Return, One Last Hope, 3 costs uninkable, and with this card, chosen character gains resist +2 until the start of your next turn. Again, if we love resist, that's always nice. You can protect something you want to challenge. Then on top of that, if it happens to be a hero, they can challenge readied characters. So all those benefits I just talked about with that Cinderella Stouthearted come with this card as well. It's a 3 cost song, meaning a lot of your characters, most of the characters in your deck are going to be able to sing this song. Heroes are very common archetype in characters, so it's not unlikely that you'll be able to use both those effects to a great degree. It's just really good. Being able to all of a sudden hit a readied character is just a good thing to have, a good way to take control of a board that was maybe not going your way, or it was on the edge of going one way or the other, and then you could take control. And then resist is always nice because now whatever you're using the challenge, most likely is going to survive the challenge. So again, this card is probably going to be here to stay for the long haul, at least through the next set or so. So definitely get your playset now. It's a really, really good card. And that actually does do it for the budget staples and steel. Those are the only 5 cards I got for you, unfortunately, but I have a ton of fun potentials to talk about here in a moment. All right, so we are going to move into our budget potential section now. These are cards that either have potential to move up to that other staple category, have a potential to fit certain specific builds, especially in budget world, or cards that I think right now may not be the greatest, but down the line could be. We're going to start off with one of the cards that I used to use all the time. I think he's a lot of fun in the casual kitchen table setting. You can catch some league mates off guard if you go to your casual LGS. It is Beast Selfless Protector. Is a super rare character from the Floodborn set. 6 cost inkable, 2 strength, 8 willpower, quest for 1. Pretty beefy. The two strength isn't really much to write home about, but the 8 willpower slot, and he needs it because of that shield, another ability. Whenever one of your characters would be dealt damage, put that many damage counters on this character instead. So, say someone played that song, Along Came Zeus, on one of your characters. That 5 damage would then go to him instead of that character, or if they wanted to challenge into one of your characters, that damage goes to him instead. Even if it goes over their willpower, that amount of damage still comes over. So even if it was like a 3 willpower character that used Zeus, he would still take 5 because that's just the way it works. It's also nice because it doesn't apply only to your opponent's turn. So like if you have him play him on turn 6, then all of a sudden you have things on your board to challenge with. You can challenge with those things freely, and he can kind of just absorb hit after hit after hit for you, and kind of keep them alive and doing well. And then maybe he goes away, but all of your other characters remain unscathed. He's just a really fun card to play with. He's a really cool piece. Like again, he's not super meta or anything, but like he's so good. I really like this card. It can really mess with your opponent. And then up next, we're going to talk about a rare character from Floodborn. It is Hercules, Divine Hero. He is a 6 cost inkable character, 6 strength, 3 willpower, quest for 2. He does shift on 4. We have a couple decent Hercules to shift on, so there's a good chance you could do that. But he also has resist +2. Resist is phenomenal. We've talked about it a couple times already in this video. Yeah, 3 willpower doesn't seem great, but when you give it resist +2, that's really nice. On top of the 6 strength, he can really challenge into a lot of things and survive. He can also then quest for 2 as well. He's just a really good character, strong character with a large body. Up next is kind of a more techie card, and that is Tiana Celebrating Princess. She is a super rare from Floodborn as well. 4 cost uninkable, 1 strength, 4 willpower, quest for 2. She also has resist plus 2, same as that Hercules and Cinderella we just talked about. She's hard to get rid of. She's kind of pesky, but she is kind of unique in a way because I talk about it all the time. You want to be drawing cards, and she actually fits better in decks where you're not really drawing cards, or maybe your draw is less reliable. Because in order for her, what you give is what you get ability to trigger. You need to have no cards in your hand, and it states that whenever she's exerted and you have no cards in your hand, your opponents can't play actions. They can't sing songs. They can't pay to play songs. They can't play regular actions. She can really freeze what your opponent wants to do, and then having that resist plus 2 makes her kind of hard to get rid of unless you're playing against a Ruby deck. There's a good chance that she can stick around and become a real issue because you have to find a way to either deal 6 damage to her all at once or, repeatedly hitting her for a minimum of 3 just to do 1 damage. She can really lock down your opponent and help you run away with the game. Up next is the last card we're going to talk about from Floodborn. It is a rare item. It's a 3 cost inkable item, Weight Set. I think this card is underrated and doesn't get enough love. There are obviously significantly better draw engines in the game, and most people pair that with Steel because Steel doesn't have like the strongest draw, so you typically see it paired with things that are going to give it better draw. But Weight Set it does something really unique in that its training abilities that whenever you play a character with 4 strength or more, you can pay 1 ink to draw a card. Steel has a lot of big body characters. They have a decent amount of characters that are 4 strength or more. So there's a good chance you'll be able to trigger this. If you get this down turn 3 or 4, by the time you get to the later turn 6, 7, 8 or so, you're already playing stuff most likely with that's going to reach that threshold. You save ink on the side. You can pay that 1 ink and continue to draw cards. I really like it. It's a lot of fun to use. It's definitely more casual. It's not going to be competitive because it does take you off curve that having to pay that 1 ink, but it's a really fun draw engine. I've built some fun decks around this card, just loading it up with high strength characters. But it's going to work perfect. It's going to be really strong in your kitchen table when you're having just a more casual, relaxed gameplay. And then moving on, we have John Silver, Greedy Treasure Seeker. He's a rare character from Inklands. He's a 3 cost inkable, 3 strength, 3 willpower, quest for 1. Stats are not great for a 3 drop, but there is a reason for that. He has Chart Your Own Course, which states that for each location you have in play, he gains resist plus 1 and plus 1 lore pip. And in a location happy deck, there's a good chance you could already have 2 or 3 down by turn 3. And then he all of a sudden comes in questing for 4 with resist 3, but he's obviously built for location decks. Location decks tend to be pretty budget friendly, so there's a good chance you're going to see a number of builds featuring him. I want to say the first steel deck that I'm going to talk about will have locations and feature this card. He's just a really strong card, especially if you can get him mid to late game and you already have locations and a little bit of a board. He is really hard to get rid of. He can become aggressive quester. He can challenge things to take 0 damage. It's just a really pesky card once he gets going. Up next, we're going to be talking about another Hercules. This one from Ursula's Return. It is Hercules' beloved hero, a rare character, 6 cost inkable, 6 strength, 5 willpower, quest for 2. He has bodyguard, and on a body like 6/5, that is beautiful. He does also quest for 2, so if you play him the first turn and activate bodyguard on play, and he has to survive to the next turn, which there is a good chance he will. You can then quest for 2 and then use him as a bodyguard, which is really nice. Then on top of that, he comes with resist 1. Really annoying. I've played against this card a number of times, and each time it's a headache. It is really good. It protects your entire board, and is really hard to get rid of on its own. Zeus can't get rid of it. The song Zeus can't get rid of it because it has that. Ruby removal is going to struggle because he has the high strength. He's just a really big body and really obnoxious, and I love it. I love it. Up next, we've talked about the broom decks a little bit, and this is what I want to say is probably the most essential broom to those decks, especially the ones you're going to see in the budget videos. It is a super rare Magic Broom Brigade Commander from Ursula's Return. It's a 6 cost inkable, 2 strength, 6 willpower, quest for 2. Also has resist. Resist is pretty common, and especially in the budget stuff, I find it helps them a lot because you're already trying to get value, and this really helps you kind of stretch out the value of your cards. What makes him so strong is his Army of Brooms ability. That he gets +2 strength for each other character named Magic Broom you have in play. And by the time you get to turn 6 in a Brooms deck, especially, there's a good chance you have two or three on board. All of a sudden, this guy does not take a lot to all of a sudden be a 6/6 quest for two or just one, taking him out of a lot of removal range. He's a massive body, can start challenging into things. He is just a problem. I love the card a lot, and I think if you're going to take an approach that involves Magic Brooms, you're going to want, I think, a minimum three of this in the deck. It's a very affordable super rare, but I think one of the things that makes Magic Room decks very strong is this guy as a top end. I have also been unfortunate enough to be on the wrong end of this guy. I do, I just love it. It's just a really good card. Anything that can easily generate strength like that in a build that's going to already feature Magic Brooms a lot is really good. And then moving on, playing off that magic broom, we have Mickey Mouse, Playful Sorcerer. He is also from Ursula's Return. He's a rare character, 5 cost inkable, 3 strength, 4 willpower, quest for 2. Does have shift 3. There's a good chance you can shift him. There's what people like to call Sticky Mickey. It's a little one drop Mickey that's hard to get rid of. So there are a couple of that Mickey, and then maybe another one or two you could arguably put into the deck, but he can shift pretty easily. Again, you see resist. And then he also has Sweep Away that says when you play him, deal damage to a chosen character equals the number of rooms you have in play. If you shift him on 3, you're less likely to get a lot of bang for your buck, but if you just play him outright on 5, there's a good chance you have 2 or 3 brooms on board, so you get to play this decent body, decent quester, and then hit something for some decent damage as well. Again, very specific to the broom build, but also essential to it. Really cool card, a lot of fun to play. Up next is a key piece to any hero deck you're probably going to want to put together is Philoctetes from uh, from Ursula's Return. Sorry, he's a rare character for cost inkable, 2 strength, 3 willpower, quest for 2. Um, so not the greatest stat line, but he can quest for 2 if you need it. And then you got to stay focused that your hero characters gain Challenger +1, meaning they get an extra strength every time they challenge on your turn into something. That's always really nice. Hero again is a very common archetype, so there's a good chance, especially in a build around this, you're going to probably have a deck full of heroes, so they all suddenly are hitting for that much more. And then he also has Shameless Promoter that just by playing a hero character, you're going to gain a lore. So not only can he help you get to 20 lore, he makes your characters stronger when they challenge into things, and he himself can quest for 2. It's just a really fun piece to build around, especially in a hero build. Um, we'll have one down the line, I'm sure, at some point that will feature him, probably more than one. He's just a really cool card. And plus, who doesn't love Phil? And then up next, we are going to talk about a legendary character from Shimmering Skies. It is Jafar, Tyrannical Hypnotist. I don't know if he really belongs here. I've seen him used, and it's kind of okay, but I do think there is potential here, especially in a much more casual setting, that he could really be a strong piece. He is again a 6 cost character. He is inkable, 0 strength, 7 willpower, quest for 2. He has Challenger 7, meaning that on your turn, when he wants to challenge, he is a 7/7, massive body. On your opponent's turn, though, he's not going to deal any damage out, but that's okay because he has Intimidating Gaze that states opposing characters with cost 4 or less cannot challenge him, meaning that only characters that are 5 or above cost in ink can challenge him. So even if your opponent has a wide board and wants to swing a few things into him to get rid of him because he won't deal the damage back and it's going to take more than one to get rid of him, you can really stick around for a couple turns and then take out a couple things at the same time. I'm really excited to build around him a little bit as we move into budget decks and things. I do think he has some potential to just be really annoying. Up next is a personal favorite card of mine that I've used in a number of builds. It is Arthur King Victorious, a legendary character from Shimmering Skies. 7 cost uninkable, 3 strength, 6 willpower, quest for 3, shift 5. Not the greatest shift target, so I don't know how often you're going to be able to take advantage of that shift. But if you can, great, because he is a very strong character in my opinion. He also has Knighted by the King, which states that when you play this character, chosen character gains Challenger +2 and Resist +2 this turn, and can challenge ready characters, meaning that when you play him, something's hitting for 2 extra strength, they're going to have Resist 2, so they're going to take 2 less damage in that challenge, and then they can also challenge into a ready character. We talked about it a little bit, but being able to just do that is always nice, and playing this will catch your opponent off guard. I do think there's a world where you might see a build with him in the future where he might be in that those more top tier decks. I like him a lot. I've had a lot of fun using him. I've been able to shift him. I had him for a long time in my Emerald Steel deck, where I use Morph. when I put in a bunch of decent floodborns, I don't have the best targets just to kind of see how they play. So if there ever comes a day where we get a really good Arthur on three or four costs, there's a chance he comes into the meta out of nowhere. Now this card I think might actually belong in the staples section because it is just massive body. It's a 5 cost inkable rare character from Azurite Sea. It is Gantu, Captain Crankyhead. 4 strength, 3 willpower, quest for 4. Questing for 4 is just phenomenal. If you can get him to stick for a turn and quest for 4 before he's gone, that is worth it every single time. I would gladly pay 5 ink to gain 4 lore every time. And then 4/3 is nice because there's a good chance he's taking something out with him if they challenge into him to get rid of him. I have seen a lot of interesting builds with him recently popping up, and he does a lot of work. He's really annoying to see come down the board, especially if your opponent already has a couple characters down. It could really just seal games. Like I said, I do think he might actually belong in staples. So out of this section, might be the first card I would target. Just a really, really good, some a little bit overstated vanilla character. I love overstated characters, and this one happens to be inkable, so I'm all for it. Up next is one that one of my good buddies is convinced will be really good one day, and I don't think he's wrong. I think it's a really strong card. It is a legendary character from Azurite Sea and Wreck-It Ralph Hamhands. He's a 6 cost on Inkable, 4 strength, 4 willpower, quest for 3. Good stats. We love anything that quests for 3. And then on top of that, his I Wreck Things ability triggers on quest that whenever he quests, you can banish a chosen item or location to gain 2 lore. So not only are you gaining 3 lore right there just by questing, if you or your opponent have an item or location in play, you can use him to then banish it, and you gain 2 lore. So your opponent may have played a really obnoxious location. Hopefully you have this on board. You can get it down maybe the turn after and quest with him the next turn, get rid of it. Maybe they put down an item or something that's really annoying, maybe a lucky dime or just anything in general. I just feel like there's a lot of potential here somewhere. I don't know where it is yet. I don't really see it just yet, but I am excited to build some decks around him and just see what he can do because I do think that 5 lore swing and taking out a location or item is huge. And you can even take out your own stuff if you really need that extra 2 lore. Up next is another Jafar. I think I might just be biased because it's how much I love the movie Aladdin, and Jafar is just such a cool villain. He is a super rare character from Azurite Sea, 5 cost uninkable, 3 strength, 4 willpower, quest for 1. He has You'll Get What's Coming to You ability that states that during your turn, whenever you ink a card, basically, whenever you put a card into your inkwell, you get to deal 1 damage to a chosen character. I'm a big fan of pinging things. I like to damage things. I wish he was inkable. He'd be definitely be able to be a little more playable. But I can definitely see a world, especially if you pair this with like a Sapphire deck and you're ramping where you're playing more than 1 ink in a turn, you can suddenly just, if you play him on 5 and then ink for turn, ink another extra card with one of your many options to do that in Sapphire, you can suddenly hit for 2. And then once he's already on board, you don't have that 5 ink, it's a good chance you can keep doing 2 or 3 damage a turn, depending on how ramp happy your deck is. I do think this card has some decent potential. Up next is another John Silver, John Silver Stern Captain. He is a legendary character from Azure Sea. He's an 8 cost inkable, 6 strength, 6 willpower, quest for 2. He does shift for 5. We have a really good John Silver that comes out on 3, so only 2 turns later you can shift this guy out and get a massive body on the board. Especially if you have locations that other John Silver is probably sticking around, you're going to be able to shift him. He also has resist plus 2. Again, love resist. It's just a really obnoxious thing to have, and especially on a body like this. And then on top of that, he has don't just sit there, which is an ability that at the start of your turn, you deal 1 damage to each opposing ready character. So if your opponent has stuff they want to keep safe and not take any damage, they typically don't want to exert it. This might force them to quest with them to get value out of them before they start taking damage or pinging. It gets around ward because you're not targeting anything, so it's kind of again that splash damage effect we talked about. He's just I feel like there's something there with him. The potential is through the roof with this card, and I think it's only a matter of time till we see some really, really great decks with him. He might make your spouse or significant other, your child, your parent angry if you're playing this in a casual game because it's a massive body. It's really annoying, but I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait to talk about him when we start doing some decks. And then finally, the last card in this series is King's Sensor Core. We love a good theme deck in Budget World. This fits right into any kind of theme. It's a rare item from Azurite Sea, 3 cost inkable. He has Symbol of Royalty. So kind of like the Queen Sensor Core, this one obviously triggers off princes and kings, but this time it gives them resist +1. A lot of resist in this video. It's just a really, really cool ability. Like I've said, I don't know, maybe a dozen times already. I don't think I need to go on about why that's so good. And then we like to draw cards, and I'm sure you've noticed this is only the second card in this entire budget video for Steel that even mentions drawing cards. Steel is not known for card draw, really. They do have a couple decent options. A lot of it is more of a draw a card, discard a card type of thing. So anytime you can get a draw in a color that it's not prevalent in, that feels good. And similar to the Queen Tensor Core, you pay 2 and exert it. Look at the top card of your deck. If it's a king or prince, you put it in your hand. Otherwise, it just goes right back on top. You're going to play this in a very Prince King heavy build, but even a hero deck. You could even do a heroes because all princes and kings, I'm pretty sure every single prince and king is a hero. If not, the vast majority are. So there's a good chance you can play those off of each other. Use this as a draw engine in it. And drawing cards is just essential to this game. It is what it is. And I think it's a pretty decent draw engine, especially in a casual setting. And that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for checking it out and stopping by. If you enjoyed the video, enjoy the budget content that I'm going to be doing and have done before, please give the channel a subscribe as well. I really had a lot of fun making this series and jumping into this content creation. We're going to be moving into my personal favorite part of TCGs in general, and that is deck building. The next few videos, I'm going to go over some deck building tips from the budget approach. I'm going to go over some just general guidelines for maybe putting together your own deck on your own as well. And then I also have 3 decks that I am working on that we're going to talk about, and I will show you. They're all budget friendly, where I'm going to call kitchen budget friendly, kitchen table friendly, where they're under $50 for the entire deck, brand new if you don't have a single copy of any of the cards. I am really excited to jump into that with you. If Please, again, if you like this content, give the channel a subscribe. If you have any feedback at all on this video, any cards you didn't expect to see, cards I may have missed, cards you think I was wrong on, I look forward to any and all feedback. You can also find me over on X under the same name, Ferda Fangorn. I'm very active over there. I would love to interact with you there as well. Like I said, I just cannot wait. And thank you so much for stopping by. And with that, be love, be you, and God bless.